Have friends or family coming to Bethany? Give them a home away from home at Hidden Acres Cabin Rentals. In the rolling hills of Bethany, our cozy cabins start at $140 a night and include everything guests need to relax: private space, modern amenities, and a peaceful country setting. Book a cabin today at hiddenacrescabinrentals.com or call 660-373-9927. Hidden Acres Cabins. Comfort for your guests, just minutes from you. United Country Nelson Real Estate is your trusted place to go when looking to buy or sell. Licensed in 3 states, our team of experienced agents is ready to help you find exactly what you're looking for. Whether it's a home in town, wide open farmland, hunting and recreational property, or that perfect piece of land to call your own. With United Country Nelson Real Estate, you get the best of both worlds. Personal hometown service backed by nationwide exposure. Find us online at nelsonsoldit.com, and remember, no one knows the country like we do.
All right, CF Rainey again here on Sports Central, one of our interviews with one of the South Harrison coaches this time, Coach Aaron Fitzpatrick, South Harrison varsity softball coach. Big thanks again to Harrison County Community Hospital, who sponsors all of our Sports Central content. And so, Coach, we were talking before we started rolling. A week ago, you've played 6 games since we talked last. But a week ago, we were on the eve of what most people in the GRC, and I think especially in South Harrison, Gallatin, were looking at as that big clash to see who'd get that step earlier in the season for a conference title. And so you host Gallatin in what was just – I was glad we were there, and I was sitting right behind home plate because your team showed so much grit and determination that to come up 10 innings, both pitchers, Bryn Bird for Gallatin and Rory Fitzgerald for you all, went 10 innings. Most of the people that we had 2 radio stations there plus me. Everyone else was looking for score sheets to keep up. I'd brought a baseball score sheet that went 12 innings, so I was getting ready to get close. But maybe just talk about that game and how important that game was coming into it, and then just about how that game went back and forth throughout those 10 innings.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that about the grit and determination, because that's something we put a big emphasis on. It's something we talk about a lot. It's something that we try to teach them through a tough schedule and through tough things in practice. And it was on full display that night, because we didn't play particularly great defense. Like, we kind of kicked the ball around in certain situations, but man, our bats really came through for us, and we were able to get out of innings. I say we kicked the ball around, but that was kind of early in the game. And later in the game, man, our defense played really, really locked down. And as we got into extra innings and tied that game up, it was just, we got out of some jams, and we did some really good things on defense down the stretch. And it was for those who paid admission, it was probably worth the price of admission, because it was a really good game, back and forth, just just full of emotional swings, because we kind of came out, Lexi had a first inning home run, and we got all the momentum, and they got a couple runs in the middle innings, and came back and tied it up and took the lead. And, it was just an emotional roller coaster all night long. And, for our girls to come through in those situations late in the game was really big for us. But it was a fun game, and, hats off to the 2 pitchers both of them went 10 innings, and they got out of some jams. Both Bryn and Rory got out some jams down the stretch in the late innings, and kept that game really, really, obviously really close, going 10 innings. But it was a fun environment, man. It was fun for our kids. It was fun to play in a game like that. And that's the top 2 teams in the conference. At least that's what the standing has been the last couple of years. It was just a battle between 2 really good teams.
Yeah, and so it comes down to, and I really was amazed at both those pitchers. And I talked to Bryn Bird and her dad afterwards, and just congratulated her. I'm sure she was disappointed. They were disappointed, but to go 10 innings, I had the opportunity. I was at school the next day and saw Rory, and just, I think the thing that makes the difference there, she is such a strong pitcher, and she just dug down. There were moments she'd dig down just mentally. You'd see her on the mound, look up to the sky, and kind of gather herself. And so for her to finish, but you get to that last inning, bottom of the 10th, one of your big players, and we'll talk about Bailey Barnett and her future here before we get off with you. But she comes up, hits a big double into the gap, and then Ambry Hunter, right? Another player who had a lot of accolades last year coming into this year as a junior first baseman comes up and hits that huge 2-run home run. I told their mom, Ambry and Lexi's mom, Lexi started out with the home run. Ambry ended it. The Hunter sisters kind of bookended that victory with those big shots.
Yeah, for sure. It was those two. Those two were huge. Lexi got things started off with a bang right there. First at bat of the bottom of the first inning, she just smokes one to left field, clears the fence. Really got us rolling, got us off to a really good 4-0 start in the first inning. And we had Bailey, Ambry, Rory coming up. I think it was in the bottom of the seventh, and Gallatin got out of that inning unscathed and went into extra innings. And we had him coming up in the 10th. I thought, man, I don't know. Hopefully Gallatin won't be able to do it twice, because those girls have made some big at bats over the last couple of years. And Bailey was probably due that night. I think she maybe had a base hit earlier, but she didn't hit the ball hard all night, and she just come up and smoked that double. And you could kind of see her kick it into, like, I'm going to stretch a single into a double gear, coming to second base, and slid and was called safe. And it was just a clutch moment for her. And then Ambry, when Bailey advanced on a wild pitch or pass ball to third base, and we got Bailey to third base, I thought, Ambry, Rory, Ella coming up, I felt good about our situation there. One of them is going to get it in play and knock her in. And Ambry, just came up really big and, hit that ball really, really hard. It did not take hardly any time at all to get out of the park. And it was a huge swing for her. And she's done that. Now, it's not like the first one she's hit, big. And it was obviously a really big one, but she's hit some big ones throughout her career. And, I expected them to come through in that situation. They do a lot of the time. And it was really big for us.
No, and so you get that, then you go down to Chillicothe tournament, and again, you're not trophy hunting with where you're going. You're going against some really good schools that are same classification as us, as well as some bigger schools, and you go down there and end up 1-2 on the weekend. Maybe talk just for a little bit about how that Saturday went. I know it was a really hot day. I was with the junior high squad up in Eagleville, and so a tough day. And I know you were there almost the entire day on Saturday.
Yeah, we left at 6:30 a.m. and I got home at about 10 p.m. that night. So it was a long, hot day. When we had tough competition, like you said, our schedule is brutal. It's tough. You just got to show up every single game, every single tournament, and just expect a good game, because that's what we're going to see. But we started that game tournament with Kirksville, and their quality team. I think they're Class 3, Class 4, right on the line. I don't remember what they are this year, but they're a quality team, and we hit the ball really well. We played good defense. It was just a really tidy game, and their pitcher kind of started off a little wild, and we took advantage of some miscues by their defense. And I thought we just played a really complete game. Rory pitched a good game against them. I think Molly Botcher came in and closed that game and did a really nice job. And it was a really good way to start the tournament. Then we played Holden in the semifinal. Holden is, they've been in the Class 3 playoffs last couple of years. They're Class 2 this year, but they're kind of another team that's right on the line between classifications. And they're a really quality team. Like, they got athletes all over the field. They can hit throughout their lineup. They're a solid team. And I thought that for the most part, we were in control of that game. I thought for the most part, we just kind of had some, Rory got maybe a little gassed as the day got hotter, and our team, she had pitched a lot of pitches against Kirksville, and, she threw that whole Holden game. And as we come down the stretch, she just had a couple balls get in the dirt, and, it was just a game where you got to play really well. You got to play good defense throughout, and Holden was able to take advantage of a couple of our mistakes. And, it was a good game, and it ended up being 6-5. And, we gave ourselves a chance to win, and we put ourselves in a good spot. So, finished up the night with the Lawson game. Molly Botcher started that game, pitched a pretty good game. Lawson is a really, really good offensive team. And, we come out, scored a bunch of runs in the first inning. They come back right in the bottom of the first and scored a bunch of runs. And from then on, it was just kind of back and forth, and it was anybody game. We grabbed a 2-run lead, I think, going into maybe the bottom of the 5th or bottom of the 6th, late in that game. But, they came through and had a couple clutch hits and put us in a hard spot. And, they got a run and end up beating us in the bottom of the last inning. But, the only way you get used to playing in those games is you play in a lot of them. So,
yeah.
Just like putting our backs against the wall and, trying to figure out a way to fight out of it. And you just got to play good teams to get to where you want to get to. And we've done that, I think.
Well, and not to make excuses, you go down there. You didn't have Bailey Barnett, your starting shortstop, who hits in that 3 spot. Again, Rory coming off the 10 innings before and pitching. So and Molly, you've worked her in. We'll talk about the Plattsburgh game here in a moment. As a freshman pitcher to come in. But the reason you didn't have Bailey Barnett is she was in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, on a recruiting trip and ends up verbally committing to be a Tar Heel. So maybe just talk a moment about that as a coach, just a junior, so has another year, but having a player not just commit to go play college, which is huge. No matter NAIA Division 3, 2, that's a huge step. But going Division 1 to a school like that in the ACC.
Yeah, it's awesome opportunity for Bailey. We couldn't be prouder of her. I know she's worked extremely hard to get to where she is. She puts in a lot of hours. She puts in a lot of travel. She puts in a lot of time. She just does everything the right way whenever you want to try to do something like that. And she's a really special player. She stepped in and started as a freshman for us. We went to the Final Four that year, and she came up with some big hits. She hit a home run. She's been doing it since she was a freshman year. She hit a home run in the third place game at the Final Four that year, and hit a walk-off homer in the district final last year. And she's been really good for us. And it's just she's so deserving of it. She's a great kid. She works extremely hard in the weight room. She works extremely hard at whatever she does, and she's very, very deserving of it. It's just proof that if you work hard enough and you want something bad enough, that you can, the sky's the limit for you. And I'm really proud of her. I'm really happy for her. And I'm a lifelong Tar Heels fan. More so Tar Heels men's basketball, but now I got a really, really good reason to root for Tar Heels softball. So, and I was a little bit. Brooke was showing me when they got back. She was showing me some pictures of their recruiting trip, and she said a lot of the schools they've been to, it's really big on the football side. Like they'll take them, show them the football complexes, but not North Carolina. It was all basketball. So I was pretty jealous of some of the things she's seen and some of the things she got to do while she was there. But we're really happy for her. She's going to do great.
No, it's awesome, and it shows. And having 2 young daughters that play softball, it shows. Hey, guess what? From Bethany, Missouri, you can make it anywhere. And I think that's big. I know I have my pastor grew up in a little town in Texas, and he said his dad told him they had one stoplight in the town. He said, Mark, from that stoplight right there, you can get anywhere in the world. And
absolutely.
And so that's great for Bailey. And I know I've talked to her parents and grandparents and how excited they are all of her, and I know you as a coach and we as a school district and community, that's just an awesome accomplishment. And so she did that, was gone over the weekend. Then you come back, you have a KCI team Plattsburgh come in. You give Rory Fitzgerald a break as far as starting. You start Molly Botcher in that. And that was a game that kind of reminded me of the other KCI team you played in mid-Buck. Plattsburgh had a pitcher, was not overpowering, but boy, she could spin it, she could place it. And your hitters kind of struggle getting a solid bat on the ball in that game early on.
Yeah. It took us a little bit to kind of get on her. Plattsburgh is a solid team. They got kids throughout their lineup and in their field that can really play. Like their pitcher, like you said, she's not overpowering, but she does a really good job just knowing what her strength is. Spinning it. She does a good job working away. Pretty good job changing speeds. It just took us a little bit to get on her. And their defense did a good job behind her. I thought they were in a pretty good situation to compete with us and get a win that night. But luckily we came through. In the end we got a couple of hits down the stretch, and our defense did a pretty good job down the stretch. Keeping that game. Because they got going a little bit against Molly. Our defense did a good job hanging in, not giving up really a big inning. But Molly did a really good job, keeping them off balance. Not giving up anything big. She gave up hits throughout the game, but she did a really good job just keeping the ball down and not giving up anything too big. And to have a freshman come in that situation where Rory needs a break. She's thrown a lot of innings over the last few days. Just to be able to give Rory that break was really big, and she did a really nice job stepping in. We were able to get a late game win there with a couple big hit by Kinley Burkhead, and I'm trying to think who else.
Tania Dahl hit.
Yeah, Tania Dahl had a triple, and then Lexi scored on a sacrifice fly. That's right. I was trying to think how that worked out at the end of that game, but yeah, Kinley and Tania come in and did a really nice job getting that inning going last, because we were down 1 going into the last one, and to get Kinley in scoring position as leadoff hitter, and then Tania to move her around and put us in a really good position to get those 2 runs across that last inning.
Well, and I like in that game, and again, we talk about the grit and determination. Uh, Kinley had not swung the bat well in that game leading up to that final at bat, and she still came up with confidence as a senior, makes a big play, and then Tania didn't start, was coming off the bench and kind of pinch hitting there, and as a freshman, and just keep the line moving. And Rory came on to get the save. I asked her how many saves she's had. Because she's usually starting pitching, and she goes, "That might be one of my first ones."
I'll say that. I think that was her first one, I think.
Yeah, and so just great team effort. And then last night made the long trip over to Milan, um, and those fields are right beside each other. So my daughter plays with your oldest daughter. Olive and Harper play together on junior high squad. Your wife coaches that junior high team. Those fields, I mean, are as close to each other as you can get. So you could see both scoreboards, and for a while we were keeping the exact same pace. But both teams, and you guys go and get a big win, 15-4 over at Milan last night, just to notch another GRC game.
Yeah, for sure. We gave Rory another night off, after throwing the 10 innings and then throwing a lot of games this weekend. We gave Rory another night off. Bailey stepped in and started as the starting pitcher, and she did a good job. Like I thought we started off that game really well. I think we got 4 or 5 runs in the first day. I think it was 4. But yeah, it was a good team win. Another one to, getting off the bus and going on a long road trip. Sometimes you never know what you're going to get. And I thought we started off that game really well. It's good to get another step closer to a GRC title, hopefully. And yeah, it was nice because I don't get to watch the junior high very often. It was kind of nice having those fields so close to each other. I kind of keep an eye on, watch Harper pitch and watch the other girls. And it was nice, and it was good to go on a long road bus trip and get a win.
And so coming up, you've got Maysville. We're doing this on Wednesday night, so Maysville Thursday night, another conference. They're a team that's, as far as you look at the standings, they're up in that upper half of the GRC. I think just one loss along with Marceline and Gallatin. So team you can't overlook. Another one you'd like to get. So maybe talk about that game just for a little bit here with Maysville.
Yeah, they're last year I think they finished lower in the conference, but we thought they had some kids coming back and some kids coming up, and they've competed really well this early part of the season, and they're going to be playing with confidence, and they're going to come in ready to play, and they're well coached, and they got some athletes around the field, and they got a pretty decent pitcher. So it's a game where we got to show up and play. Targets aren't, we're the undefeated team at the top of the conference, so we got a big target on our back, and they're going to be ready to play, so we got to be ready to play. But I like our chances, and I like where we're at. I like the things that we've been doing. But another GRC matchup. Hopefully, we can get one more game under our belt and get a little closer.
So you finished that, and this weekend you're going to Jeff City, and you're going to see. And it's one of those. And we'll kind of close with this question, Coach. Softball is a little different, right? Football, you're not scheduling 5A teams and 4A teams and that. But what it does for your team to see some of the pitching, to see some of the hitters that are in those Class 3, Class 4 schools, maybe talk just a little bit about when you're looking at your schedule, how that helps you to get better.
Yeah, it's like it's a sport that is not dominated, but really heavily weighed on the pitching. So you have to, if you're expecting, or your goal is to make a postseason run, you're eventually going to run into a pitcher that's really good. I mean, you guys saw that. We saw that last year when we ran into Abby Lay at Highland. We saw that the previous year when we made it to the Final Four, Megan Graver from Bowling Green. And you run into lineups that have seen pitching throughout the year. So you have to put yourself in a position when you're building your schedule. If you have a team that you think that can compete at that level and maybe, make some noise in the postseason, you got to put yourself in a position to see pitching like that throughout the season, because you don't get better at seeing pitching like that by not seeing it, So we try to do that with our schedule, and it's just, you just got to see that higher level stuff, balls going up, balls with velocity, balls that could change speeds, and pitchers just know how to pitch themselves out of jams, and lineups that know how to work against your pitching too. So you kind of put your defense in a spot where they got to make plays. So that's kind of the mindset whenever we're building our schedule, just to see teams, and sometimes you got to go out of your area to see those teams, and we're we're around a lot of Class 1 teams around us. Nothing wrong with Class 1. There's a lot of good softball in Class 1. We get to the city and we see a lot of Class 4, Class 5 teams that are used to competing at a really high level. And, we try to put ourselves in the mix with those teams just to try to get experience facing pitchers of that caliber.
That's great. And so good luck tomorrow night with Maysville this weekend in Jeff City. And I look forward. I'll be behind home plate again tomorrow night on Bulldog Sports TV. And then next week is homecoming week. So I know lots of stuff going on, games as well as all kinds of activities. So we always appreciate your time, Coach, and look forward to next time.
Absolutely. CF, thanks for the coverage, man. We'll talk to you later.